In the large square below, the shaded areas are also squares. How many squares are there within this figure? Well, alright, so we're given one big square. I can count one right there. This is the whole thing is one big square. There's one. And then you can go through all these darker squares, our squares, we're told that. So how many do we have? We have 4 times 4, so we have 16. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of record that and say, okay, here's our small dark squares, and there's 16 of those. And then we're told also that the shaded areas, these lighter shaded areas, are also squares. So let me draw a little bit bigger square, and I'll shade it more lightly. And how many do we have of those? We have 9 of those. Okay. Now we have to get into some composite figures, okay? Because we have to combine some of these shapes in order to get more squares. All right. So one that you might see is one that looks like, actually I'm going to pick up a red pen so I can make sure you see what I'm talking about. Right here. Alright, so it's a square that's made up of 5 squares plus these rectangles. Alright, and you can see that we could shift this across the row 3 times, and we get 3 for each row, and we have 3 rows total. So let me draw that one. Let's just draw it like this. And color in the corners just so you see what we're talking about. So we have squares that look like this, and they have the lighter shading in the middle. And how many do we have of those? We had 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay. Alright, well, let's keep going, because there's more squares we can find. Actually, we can find a square within this red square, so I'm going to erase this red. And let's see, I'll just go back to another red pen here. And you can see here we've got another square that looks like this within that previous square. And not only that, for every one of those these squares we just counted, there's actually 4 of them, right? So there's one that looks like this, and we're basically just rotating it around 90 degrees each time. So within each one of these figures right here, we can find 4 more smaller squares. So, and we have 9 of those, and we can just rotate it around the asymmetrical square. So we have squares that look like, let me draw what we're talking about. So we have a square that looks like this, okay? And we can rotate that, still congruent. We can rotate this 4 different ways. So for every one of these 9 squares here, we've got 4 of these. So we have 36 of these. Okay? So there's 4 for each one of these figures. Okay? They're just rotated within it. Alright, that takes care of a lot of them. Alright, let's look at another square. So let me get rid of some of these lines. And what should we look at next? Well, we can just expand what we had. We can just expand this square over here by one more. We can look at these. Oops, can't draw very well here. We can look at these squares. Okay, so these are again asymmetrical. Actually, maybe it would make more sense just if we look at these other ones first. We can look at the symmetrical ones first. So there is a square here. Okay, so let's see. Let me just draw that one. These get kind of tedious to draw, but we'll draw them in here so we can record what we're doing. You'll have to excuse my messy drawing, but okay, so you can see this, and we can color the small squares so you can see what we're doing. Okay, so how many of these do we have? Well, we basically have 2 for each row, and we can shift it down 1. So we end up with 4 of these. Okay, So we end up with 4 of those. So, let's take a look at part of this rectangle, so, part of this square. So if I take this square and I look at just this portion of it, okay, you can see that for every one of these larger squares, there's 4 of these. So we basically chopped off the lower and the right hand edge, and we can rotate this around 4 times. Okay, so for every one of those, let's see. Let me see if I can draw the representative square here. So this one we have looks like this. Alright, so color these squares. So we basically chopped off the bottom and the right hand side of this, and we can rotate it 4 times. We have 4 of these, and for every one of these we have 4 of these asymmetrical squares, so there's 16 of these. Alright, well, let's again go back to this square, and let me pick up the red again. Let's get a different color. Let's get pink, green. How about green? There's a square inside of the squares. Okay, there's that one. Alright, so let's draw that one. So this one just has the one dark square in the middle. Alright, and so that's part of these, but it's not asymmetrical, so we can't turn it 90 degrees 4 times. So there's only one of those for every one of these. So, how many of those do we have? We have 4 of those. Alright. So I think we've taken care of all of the squares within this square here. So let's move out to the next bigger square. I guess the next bigger full square would be this, but there's also some more asymmetrical squares. If we just look at, let's look at this. Okay, that's a square, and there's 4 of those. Okay, so it gets tedious to draw all this, but let's draw a representative square. So we have let's see if I can draw this. Okay, so it comes down. We have one here, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and then it comes over. Okay, it's not very well drawn, but you see what I'm talking about. Alright, and we can rotate this one 90 degrees 4 times. And we end up getting 4 of these. Okay? So that's this red square that I've drawn here. So there's 4 of those. Okay. Well, and then there's also the one inside. Let me pick up the green. Okay, so there's the one inside here. Okay. There's this one. And now it's not asymmetrical, so there's just one of those. I can't turn it and get different ones. So there's just one of those. So, well, I guess I can just go ahead and draw it. Let's do that. And then I think we're done. I don't think we have any more after this one. So let me draw this one. So we end up with 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, we have the... Alright, so you know which one I'm talking about. It's this green one that I've drawn within the larger square. So there's one of those. Alright, any more? I think we got them. Let's add them up. So I'm seeing 16 and 4, that's 20. I'm seeing 18 and 3 is 21. Actually, let's, well, here, okay, so 21. Here's another 20, 16 and 4. We might as well add in this 4, 24, 25, 26. And what else? Oh, I see what I did. I wrote 3 instead of 36, didn't I? Alright, let's add it up again. Hold on. Alright. So, there's 20. And we could add the 18 to 20. Alright, so that would be 38 and 36. Okay, and then we have 1, 2, 6, 10. So we have 26 over here. So if we add that up, we get 6 and 6 is 12, plus 8 is 20. So we got a 0, carry a 2. So we have 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 3 and 3 is 6, so we have 100. And that's our answer. We have 100 squares.